In today's breaking story, the Supreme Court is scrambling as Donald Trump's new scheme changes everything. That's right, once again, Donald Trump's questionable legal activity knows no bounds. How's it going, everybody? Hunter Avalon here with Occupy Democrats. Welcome back to another video. Now, Donald Trump and his administration are operating at this point like Trump is just a king.
Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, at an oversight hearing that sounded more like cross-examination coming from Pam Bondi doing op research on Democratic senators. So what was your reflection of that?
Yeah, I mean, I watched some clips of that hearing. She acts like somebody who works for a guy who believes he's a king, right? Who believes that they're accountable to no one. She clearly showed zero deference for the United States Congress and Senate. That's probably understandable given her combative boss and how much she wants folks out there making news and creating viral clips. But it just is representative of the way the entire administration operates. They're not bound by the law. They're not bound by the Constitution. They don't believe they're accountable to the people. They certainly don't believe they're accountable to the Senate. And I think that's wearing thin on folks. 80% of Americans now say that we're in the middle of a political crisis. More than 50% of the country is worried about losing their right to free speech in the short term. So I don't think she does her boss any favors by acting so childish, representing the Department of Justice in front of the United States Senate. I don't know if you think differently.
And Trump's insane behavior is getting called out constantly.
This week in my home state of Illinois, President Trump deployed the Texas National Guard over the objection of our governor. To my Republican colleagues, how would you react if a Democratic president deployed the National Guard from any state into your state over the objections of your governor? Imagine masked Border Patrol agents in military tactical gear marching through your state's largest city. As a top Border Patrol official bragged, the agents were arresting people based on, quote, how they look. Imagine if federal agents rappelled from Black Hawk helicopters to swarm an apartment building in your state, breaking down doors, yanking people out of bed, zip tying and detaining U.S. citizens, your constituents, including children for ours, including American citizens. Imagine if federal agents pointed an assault rifle at one of your constituents, simply taking a picture.
But now the Supreme Court is scrambling as Trump's new scheme changes everything. That's right. Take a look at today's top story. And believe me, this should concern all of us. The Supreme Court is facing an unprecedented crisis of authority today, and even Justice Amy Coney Barrett, one of Donald Trump's own appointees, is admitting it. In a shocking new interview, Barrett suggested that the court may be powerless to stop Trump if he refuses to obey their rulings. Pressed by the New York Times on what would happen if Trump simply ignored a Supreme Court decision, Barrett conceded what legal experts have feared for months. The court has no power of the purse and no power of the sword. In plain English, if Trump defies a ruling, the court has no real way to enforce it. This stunning admission exposes the fragile limits of the judiciary and the terrifying reach of Trump's growing power. His allies have been pushing the so-called unitary executive theory, which places the president above both Congress and the courts. Barrett herself acknowledged that the court is currently grappling with that very theory in multiple cases tied to Trump's administration. With those cases now flooding the docket, Barrett's words carry enormous weight. They hint at a reality where the Supreme Court could issue a ruling and Trump could simply shrug it off. Legal scholars say that would ignite a constitutional crisis, unlike anything seen in modern history. This could change everything. If a sitting president can defy the Supreme Court without consequence, the entire foundation of checks and balances collapses. The judiciary would become powerless, the rule of law meaningless, and the presidency transformed into something dangerously close to absolute power. For now, the Supreme Court is trying to project calm. But Barrett's own words make one thing unmistakably clear. The justices know their limits. And if Donald Trump decides to go beyond them, America's entire system of government could be on the brink of something it has never faced before. Thanks so much for watching. Please click that like button and subscribe to Occupy Democrats so that you can stay informed and help us stop Donald Trump.